work of an Iowa-based organization, Bailing Out Benji, kind of helped spark this investigation. Can you tell me about that?
That resolution filed in King County Superior Court requires the company to pay the state $3.75 million with interest.
Bailing Out Benji regularly looks through these records of dogs' movement from state to state.
Bailing Out Benji
played a key part in unraveling a nationwide puppy scheme.
Bailing Out Benji,
an organization that's been working across the country to stop the pipeline of puppy mill breeders.
Bailing Out Benji.
I will use my voice because they don't have one, and I will keep doing it until there are no more puppy mill dogs. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bailing Out Benji's podcast, Truth, Lies, and Puppy Mills. If you tuned in last week, then you know that we were discussing the laws and pitfalls that go into the puppy mill industry and all of that it entails. Well, the episode ran a little long, and so we decided to cut it into two parts. This week's episode might start off in more of an abrupt fashion, but make sure you go in and tune into what we were talking about before and enjoy this week's conversation. Thanks, everyone.
I have a forward-focused question then. So I will save it until we're done talking about the history of what's been done.
Yeah.
But,
So
I don't want to jump ahead of us.
No, maybe we can go into like some things we've seen that have worked, right? So when we're talking about sourcing laws, and I say Connecticut does have a weird little loophole.
Yeah.
Is it ruining the state law? Not necessarily. Kind of. So when I said that there are breeders that aren't selling directly into the state, that man in our state who has dozens and dozens of violations and a bag of dead puppies at an inspector and had suspensions, he can't legally sell into the state of Connecticut. It is illegal for him to do so. Don't worry, he just launders those puppies through his other business name that has a clean inspection history. So that broker gets to sell his puppies in those stores. They are not linked to the man with violations, and so those stores technically aren't doing anything wrong. And so we're the ones that find those weird little loopholes. And then we have to file complaints with the departments and try to explain this to them.
Yeah.
And they don't get it. They're like, well, on the paperwork it says this name, so that's what we have to go with. And so there will always be issues with laws. Connecticut's not perfect. Arizona's not perfect. But what we're seeing is that the stores are getting fined. The pet store chain Animal Kingdom in Arizona got $125,000 in fines because we were reporting them for buying from breeders with violations. Because we could track it, we could hold that store accountable, and they had to pay. This year, Puppyland in Washington, we had worked on a sourcing law on a county level. The state has their own definition of puppy mills. They were fined $3.75 million because they were selling puppies from puppy mills, selling sick puppies. They were mislabeling the breeds, like all of these horrific things. But our organization was collecting complaints from consumers, helping them file the complaints with the Attorney General. We got this case opened and it happened. So like that's kind of the alternative, right? Like sometimes advocates see sourcing laws as like, it's a compromise they just didn't want because it wasn't the intention. It didn't shut everything off completely. But that does help organizations like ours who don't just pass a law and bounce. We stay, we study, we research, and we file complaints, and we hold those businesses accountable, and we try to make the law effective. If we just stand on the outside and bitch about it and say, oh, that law doesn't work, we have to do something to try and make it effective.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to be.
Yeah. So my question, and you tell me if we're not ready to go here yet, but so for people who are that policy legislative minded people, they love going to their city council meetings, they love going to lobby days, they love talking, they're the people that are calling their legislators. What can they do? Like, where should they be focusing their efforts? So the example you just gave, like we can help as an advocacy group to help connect people with the right resources to file these complaints, to, hold these stores accountable. We can do that work. Other people, our volunteers, people in the communities, other advocacy groups, what is a better way for them to focus their limited resources, limited finances, limited time to get the best bang for their buck to help get rid of puppy mills?
That's a great question. And it's all about knowing your community. And so I jokingly told you both the story of how in Iowa I passed the very first retail ban so I could say we did it. And it was in a township with like a population of 19 people. 19 people, right?
Yeah.
Like
no stores.
no stores. I
let
think they
alone
had a
pet
post
store.
office, right? They were laughing. We were all laughing.
Probably
It
had
was a
Casey's.
joke.
Yeah.
No.
No, not
No,
even.
it was
Wow.
Fraser, Iowa.
Okay.
Teeny tiny on the outskirts of Boone. Like
Okay.
had nothing. We
But they will not have a pet store.
They will no longer have a pet store. Yes. And that's like, haha, we did it. We got our name on the books. We won. That wasn't my community though. I went to a different community because mine wouldn't pass a ban. And that was how people were measuring success, especially at the time. And it's like, well, why can't you get Ames, Mindy? You're protesting that store. Why can't you get it done? And there was a lot of pressure from external sources that I wasn't being successful in my community because I was only protesting and I was only educating the public about where to get a dog and where not to get one. I wasn't banning it because my city didn't want it. And so if you're a protester and you're in a city who does not want to ban, it is okay to take a second and consider, A, where are the puppies coming from? Where are they coming from? What are the stores financing options? Are they using predatory financing? So why don't we start looking at that store specifically and then go to our city council and say, like, did you know our pet store is offering loans with 188% interest? What can we do?
Yeah.
Did you know that pet store is importing puppies? Here's documents. We got them from Bailing Out Benji. They're importing puppies from some of the worst facilities out there. What can we do? And maybe consider, it's not the win you might have wanted, but maybe consider starting with those sourcing or starting with predatory financing because some cities will never pass a ban. And advocates feel so disheartened when that happens. It's hard to, like, again, the measures of success is you passed it, you passed the ban, and you get that like badge of honor.
Yeah.
But you're stuck. Like, if you can't do it, then do you fail? Does that mean you couldn't get anything passed? The answer is no. But it's hard.
Yeah.
So
I would posit maybe people try to like broaden their scope of how they look at the issue, especially in like the legislative lens, as we've talked about. And I don't want to like downsize the efforts and work of people who do pass like the retail bans, either at the local level or state level. But as we're seeing, there are quite a few more issues, especially like online sales. And so I would hope that maybe people might broaden the landscape that they're looking at for legislation. And maybe we don't hit pet stores so hard because there are other big issues. Because like, as we've said, like there's only like 550-ish pet stores left, but there are online sale websites and brokering websites that can sell around 80,000 puppies at a single time with 15,000 breeders registered on there. And so I just hope that if we are talking to our legislators, our city council, that we are trying to get the full picture and look at all the avenues that puppy mills are selling on, and try to accurately represent maybe the whole picture.
Right. There are some really unique ways that people have considered tackling this issue. So when I said registries, that was a big one. One of our volunteers like tagged us in I think it was a podcast. Someone else had talked about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Getting people to register if they're breeding their dog. Like there are small little steps that you can take now that will maybe lead to bigger laws being passed in the future.
Absolutely.
And so if you're in Arkansas, I mean, our volunteer Emily, this is like the bane of her existence. Arkansas used to have USDA breeders, so many.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden bans were passing, like all of this stuff, right? And that number shrunk. And we saw our colleagues in the space celebrating. Look, puppy mills are closing. But unlicensed breeders, there are so many. So many of those unlicensed breeders had a license and canceled it, and then no one is paying attention to them anymore because once they're done, they're done. And so in Arkansas, like early stages, could some kind of registry be put in place where breeders have to register? I mean, gosh, maybe it's volunteer at first. I don't want it to be volunteer, but like, how can we get this done by taking these steps? Because you can't always win the first time you you're not going to finish the apple the first time you take a bite sometimes, right? Like, it's just like our lawmakers do not often do the things we wish they would do. And so putting all of your eggs in one basket, thinking that people are going to do the right thing or what you perceive to be the right thing, that's going to set you up for failure a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think another thing people need to realize is like, first of all, we are not a lobbying organization. We are a nonprofit. And so when our volunteers are working on stuff, they're doing it as citizens.
Yeah.
So they are not doing it as official lobbyists who get paid to go in and do these things.
Yeah.
But there are groups that have those lobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those groups should keep focusing on their work if that's what they want to do. But
Yeah.
I think that advocates, it's okay for advocates to realize they are not paid staff, right? They don't have to take on the full burden.
Yeah.
And while, yes, it's important to go to city council meetings and like get your voice out there, like really take that deep thinking second first and think about like, what does my community need? Is this piece of legislation, is this whatever I'm working on the right thing? Or is it just because it's the current way of doing things or the current agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to the thought of, yes, we need the legislation, we need those policies in place, but as we're seeing, it's not addressing the problem. It's not fixing the problem.
Yeah.
And so then I keep coming back to our other big avenue of education. And it's important to keep working on the legislation part of it, but also it's really important to keep educating people, people who are getting the pets, people who are breeding the pets. Like that bit can only go so far. And we've seen that in this country repeatedly. We were talking the other day about prohibition. Fine, prohibit alcohol. Did people stop drinking? Did alcohol go away? No, it didn't. So the legislation is well intended, but it doesn't get to the root of the problem.
If people are going to break the law, they're going to break the law.
Yeah. And this is a lucrative industry. So if you tell a breeder they can't sell to a store, they're not going to be like, ah, shucks, I'm going to go open a car dealership. They're not. They're going to keep doing what they do. And so educating consumers to not support that, to understand the difference. And then as we get these open doors to breeders, to help bring them along and make that divide between breeders of now we've got this group who does not want to be associated with that group. They don't want to sell where that group sells. They don't want to be lumped in, and just keep trying to make change from that angle as well.
I think it's people want the fast and they want the headline, and that's just not the nature of our work. I mean, even these bills, like the New York bill, took years and many iterations to pass. It wasn't just like one thing that advocates strolled up and passed. Our friends in Pennsylvania have been working on Victoria's law for 8 years, 9 years. I think Dog by Dog, actually. I think it's been over 10 years now, because when I went to the screening there, they were talking about it. And so it's just like, is that the right path forward if you have had to spend 10 years on it? I can't tell you if it's the right path forward or not, but I am sorry that you've had to go back to the Capitol every single year for 10 years to work on this thing. That's the reality that we face. Some lawmakers will never pass what we want them to pass. Reaching the public and talking to them about what to avoid and red flags to look for is the way. It really, really is.
Yeah. And kind of like you said at the beginning, like if that legislation is your thing, keep going to the Capitol year after, keep doing that. Like we're not saying this or that. We're saying do that, but also this needs to be done. And fortunately, there's enough people in this game who some want to do the legislative piece, some want to do the research piece, some want to do the education piece. We all need to keep doing our pieces to keep moving this forward.
And for some people, pet stores are their issue. And that is fine for them, right? It's not that pet stores are no longer our issue. It's just that we're seeing that with the limited time and resources we have, should that be our sole focus? And the minute we stepped back and we started looking at one website, we were like, oh my, we had no idea. We had no idea.
When you were talking about like, the landscape of the 90s, and when I think about just the Des Moines area, there was a pet store in every mall that sold animals. On every street there were animals everywhere. And so when you have this huge problem and you're working on it, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're just really focused on that, and you're not noticing that over here this problem's getting bigger and bigger and bigger until somebody looks over there and is like, oh, guys. And some people are going to be like, nope, until we're at 0, this is my mission, which do you, but we could really use some more help on this side of it. Like, this is getting out of control over here.
And I think that's the hard part right now is we're seeing it being, it's this or that, right? Like, it's like,
divisive.
so now, exactly. And so now our colleagues that really do focus on pet store stuff, they're negating our findings of online because they fear that it threatens their policy work. And it's like, well, you can't say that one statistic is fake because you don't like how it looks for your current talking point, right? And so I think that's the other thing. Like, advocates also have to stop throwing each other under the bus a little bit, but like stop, like, I don't know, platforming specific, I don't know how I want to say it, specific ways of doing it, right? Like, if you want to focus on the pet store side of it, you do you, but please don't make us the bad guy or the enemy because we're also looking and researching online and trying to find how big the problem is.
Well, and I think too, if you have said we're going to end puppy mills by banning pet store sales, and you've had people coming along with you on that journey, and someone comes out and says it's not working, they're now over here, you've got explaining to do to the people who've come on your journey with you, because they trusted you. Said we're going to end puppy mills by banning pet store sales, and now they're saying that did not work and it's worse over here. I can see how that's a messaging issue, right? That's you've got some explaining to do, and there's ways to do that. I mean, we do it daily. Like, we used to say this, we are now saying, whoops, no, we have looked at the data, we no longer believe that, we're now going to go this way. It can be done, but I get the threat.
Right, just acknowledge, like, if your full focus is pet stores, say, when we get to 0, we will look online.
We're going to follow this to 0.
Right, but right now, there are like lobbyists that are in our space, animal welfare type lobbyists, who are basically like, well, now bailing out Benji, saying what the pet stores say about online stuff. And it's like, we're not saying what the pet stores are saying. No. We are not using anyone else's talking points. We are truly showing the world what we are finding with our research. And we are bringing people along for the ride. We don't have all the right answers. No. But it's important for people to acknowledge, we are telling you we don't have all the right answers. Maybe question why other people aren't telling you that they don't also have all the right answers, right? We don't know the long-term ramifications of anything. And just acknowledging that, I think, would help ease some of the tension in this world. But some people can't even do that acknowledgement. So the last thing I would say when we're talking about laws, so we've talked about like pet store stuff and sourcing, and a lot of the ways that we've been successful in shutting down actual puppy mills is by using cruelty laws. And I won't go into this too in depth. We could probably do many episodes on it, but like Iowa has really strong animal neglect and animal cruelty laws. And so for the first time, we started looking at the inspection records and making that match our cruelty laws. So we would go to a breeder's inspections, and these are technically, he's fine USDA wise, right? He got a few violations, critical, direct, whatever. The USDA allows that license to stay open because they are not necessarily the enforcement agency. So we build a case for the local sheriff. We use it using Iowa's animal cruelty code, and then we tell our sheriff, your job is not to uphold the USDA regulations. Ignore that license because that is not your job. Your job is to uphold our animal cruelty laws. And guess what? Here are all the ways, and we break it down, all the ways that we believe this facility is breaking those laws. And here's the Iowa code that matches, and we highlight it, and like we make it real pretty. And we have been so successful in getting actual licensed breeders who had a history of cruelty, had a history of violations. We got them shut down and the dogs saved and charges pressed. And so it's like, when we're looking at ending puppy mills, that's another angle. Maybe strengthen your state's cruelty laws, or look at this issue through the lens of your state cruelty laws instead of through the USDA system or through that kind of
Yeah.
lens.
Gotta give yourself something that gives you a little bit more teeth in your state to shut down these puppy mills, because I mean that's probably gonna be the quickest way rather than waiting on the federal level to change. But that's a great point though, is like trying to get people to just think about what would give you a step up in trying to shut down these puppy mills if we can't get the pet stores, or if that's not exactly working. What little tools can you give yourself legislatively to help along the path of shutting down puppy mills?
It's the what will. I love that. It's like, if this isn't necessarily the right way, what is?
Yeah.
What will?
What's
What
next?
will work? Let's
Mhm.
keep trying. Let's
Yep.
try new things.
That I didn't work. What else do we have?
Yeah. It's okay to compromise. It's not a loss. It's just a little step forward towards your end goal. You know?
Right, like what is the end goal?
Yeah.
We can tell you our end goal is to end the inhumane breeding of dogs, cats, and God, hopefully we can get to guinea pigs someday, because they suffer the cruelest in USDA facilities, and so that's how I want to end.
Yeah.
So when you set the word humane and pet stores going humane, that only means they don't sell dogs and cats.
Right, right. That's why I asked, like, when someone says California has now gone humane, like that, nope, no. I know that's not true. Like, do what I know about the words California is humane, I can tell you no. Yeah. So like, what do you mean when you say they've gone humane? Or same thing with banning a pet store. No, pet stores still exist. So what do you mean when there's been a pet store ban? Like the store wasn't banned. The selling of the pet in the store was banned.
Yeah.
And just certain pets. Yeah.
And so I think so the line has been drawn at dogs and cats, because the minute you open the door, you realize just how many animals are affected, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be, and I think we joked about it in an early episode, you don't want to be the ones trying to ban goldfish, because then you look like you're the radical groups trying to ban goldfish sales, right?
But if you saw those inspection reports, you'd say otherwise.
Right. And so like, that's the thing. It's like when we say the word humane, like bailing out Benji, be like, can we get bunnies added to this? Because bunnies are getting dumped by the hundreds in towns with pet stores. You don't hear about that. You don't hear about these bunnies getting dumped by families and then breeding and then dying. And it's horrific what happens. Rabbit rescues have a hard job. There are stores that sell bunnies, and these rescues have to clean up the mess. When we're looking at reports, the guinea pig mills.
Yeah. And rabbits.
Rabbits
are in the
it's horrific.
It's bad.
And so why are stores allowed to exist under a quote unquote humane model and still sell those cruelly bred animals? While getting the appreciation and accolades for supporting adoption. Yeah. And so it's hard for us too to use the word humane, or even now use the word ethical when people are talking about ethical bills. It's like, what do you mean by ethical? Because there's still a lot being left out here. Yeah. And we did have a case here in Iowa in 2017, I think, where a house, over 1,000 small animals in this house. There were bunnies and guinea pigs and rats and snakes. There was so many animals in this one house. And they were selling to a national chain of stores. This never made the news. Yeah. So they were selling to a national chain of stores that we all like praise as being humane and adoption forward. And so it's like, there are so many instances of that we ignore, because right now we're dealing with the most pressing problem, right? And so that's when we say make it make sense, or like our little sense of justice, it's like, well, maybe don't use words that you don't necessarily know what they fully mean. Don't use the word humane.
Or that are misleading.
Yeah, exactly. So it does make it think like, oh, we've won, we've done this, we can move on. And it's like, okay, a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more if we just keep looking closer.
Right. And so I think that we can end it on just like the fact that like we need to really think about reading beyond the headlines, right? And making sure that your decisions that you're doing and the work you're working on matters. And if it matters to you, then it matters, right? So we are not trying to negate that, but look at all of the tools that you have. And if you're feeling stuck when you're working on policy, or you're feeling confused because one group says this and one group says that, like, look at your community and what your community needs and start there. Because I cannot tell you what your community needs from here in Ames, Iowa. You know your community best. And once you've figured out what your local problem is, reach out to us or reach out to another organization and say, this is what my community is facing. How can I help? And start there.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you. And honestly, I love a protest sign. So pick up a protest sign and start educating, because you can have great conversations in front of pet stores. And we do suggest, though, get to know that pet store.
Yeah.
Where are they sourcing from? So it's a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
Just taking a step and realizing, like, oh, I hate that a new pet store just opened, but it's not the end of the world. It feels like it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's that exciting, like, okay, well, now I get to pick up my protest sign and I'm going to start talking to people and like have those community conversations.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that harkens back to that narrative also, that all breeders who sell to puppy store or pet stores are puppy mills. And so it's logical to assume if this store is opening and they're selling animals, they are therefore buying from a puppy mill.
Yeah.
This plus this equals this. And now we're trying to hold space for, not just because it's a breeder doesn't mean it's a puppy mill. Those two aren't equal.
Yeah.
So there could be a pet store who's not sourcing from breeders with violations, breeders that we would call puppy mills.
I mean, technically, we did just release a study and it was 63%.
Yeah, 63.
So yes, there are sorry, we should finish that.
Oh yeah, 63% of pet stores are sourcing from breeders with violations and brokers with violations within the past 5 years.
So over a third of the pet stores are buying from breeders who don't have violations.
Or we haven't traced, but yes.
Yeah.
So like we have to leave space for that little bit.
Right.
And that's why we're saying, like, when a new store opens, be skeptical.
Right.
Yeah.
Be cautious, educate, go talk to your community. Let's wait and see what's happening before you run to lawmakers and use accusations, because those lawmakers might not ever take you seriously again.
No.
If that store comes back and they're like, but wait, like, we don't. You want to still maintain that relationship with your lawmakers, and honesty and having integrity in this work lasts longer than that city council meeting, right? So the integrity that you bring to this process matters. And I do think sometimes that's missing a little bit in this.
And with the general public. So we want to have integrity in the animal welfare world, and we want to have that with the legislators, but also we are expecting consumers to look to us as experts on this. And if we're out crying puppy mill at every corner, we lose that credibility, and we are no longer a respected source because it doesn't matter. They're just going to tell you it's a puppy mill.
Yeah.
And so we don't want that as well. And when you're out protesting a store, you are speaking to consumers of dogs. That's your audience. And so we want to be careful and intentional with our messaging.
Absolutely.
Right. So just everything you do it with kindness and compassion, and take a beat to research a little bit, right? And just think a little outside of the slogans and the talking points. And it's hard when you've believed it one way so long.
Yeah.
We struggle with it all the time. There's still things we say and then we're like, ooh, I need to fix how I frame that or whatever. So like, we're not perfect. We're all learning. We said it today too. This is all of our first time on this earth, right? Like we are just humans figuring things out. Let's maybe make it less awful for the person next to us, right? Let's do this together in a way that's not causing harm to the others in our space. So, wow, thank you for this, Robot. I love this conversation. It's really one of my favorites. I love, as much as I hate policy, I love talking about policy.
Yeah.
Lawmakers are just weird creatures sometimes.
This is one I've been looking forward to. And then you said, I had to check myself because you're like, we could do a whole episode about cruelty. And I was like, ooh, I got excited. And I was like, oh, why? Why are you excited to talk about cruelty? But I'm like, ooh, there's something I haven't talked a lot about. And so like any chance I get to get that deeper insight, like I'm excited to do that. So I think we need to put that on our podcast agenda.
Well, I think like the next, we've got some plans, right? But we want to talk about some of the investigations we've had. So if you're interested in, earlier we were talking about the sham rescues in California and Illinois. If you're interested in learning more, we were featured. We did not do the podcast. No. Sony Productions did the podcast and they featured our research, and you can hear a 7-episode little spotlight of us tracking down these illegal sellers and all of that fun stuff. The podcast is called Puppy Kingpin. So if you're interested, you can listen to that. But on that note, we do want to kind of dive into that California disappearing puppy issue a little bit deeper in a full episode, so you can hear a little bit about that. We do want to talk about some of the worst facilities out there and how they skirt the laws. So if anything we've said on this episode or any other episode has sparked a, well, what about this? Like, send us an email. We would love to dive into the topic, because we might not know a lot about it, or we might have a lot of fun talking about it.
Yeah.
So either way. So we are here at Ames, Iowa, right? We're in the middle of the country, and thankfully we have now expanded to other states. And so if anything we said in this episode like sparked your attention, you can reach out to us too, right? Because we can help you.
Yeah. And there are people who I say, like, we see it on social media posts all the time where people are like, why is this legal? How can they get away with this? And somebody needs to be looking into this. If that's your passion, and if you really love to dig into the policy, you love to talk to your legislators, protesting, that kind of stuff, if that's your thing, and you want to partner with Bailing Out Benji, like, reach out to us, send us an email, get in contact with us. We might have a team in your area already that's active that you can join in the stuff that they're doing, or we might start a team in your area if you're interested in doing that, or there are things that you can do just as an individual. We have a whole research team that's helping with our online research program that you could be a part of.
Flyers in your community, just hanging them up.
Yeah. So even if you're just a mighty team of one, you can still make a change in your community, and we are happy to partner. So many of our teams started, they were already doing stuff in their community on their own, and then found us and realized how much easier it is to do that work when you've got an organization like ours behind you. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, or something that you would be excited to do, reach out.
And we have little experts. I don't want to say little, but we have experts all over the country in their own states. And so that's the other good part of it. Alexis and I and our office team, we're good at seeing the national scale. But we have people in Wisconsin who know Wisconsin better than anybody, in Colorado who know Wisconsin better, or Colorado better than anybody. So reach out. We will put you in touch with the right people in your community, or we will help you find more people in your community.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think this is a pretty full episode. So that's exciting. We will catch you next week. Bye.